Hello, dear people. Have you watched Iron Man? Some think it's fantasy. Well, not quite. The Metal Man of Falkville. The strange encounter with an extraterrestrial that ruined a police chief's life. The Metal Man of Falkville remains one of the most mysterious and bizarre encounters with an unknown being in the history of UFO sightings in the United States. The case took place in 1973 in the small town of Falkville, Alabama, and to this day it sparks debate among researchers, skeptics, and those convinced that on that night the local police chief saw something that did not belong to our world. The story begins on October 17, 1973, shortly after 10 p.m. The Falkville police chief, Jeff Greenhaw, receives a phone call from a highly distressed woman. Her voice trembles, and her words sound so unbelievable that at first they could be taken as a joke or panic. The woman claims she has seen a flying object landing near the town, something resembling a classic UFO. At that time, Greenhaw is not on duty, but he still decides to check the report. Small towns in the American South at that time rely heavily on the personal responsibility of local police officers, and Greenhaw is known as a man who takes every call seriously. He takes the patrol car and heads to the location indicated by the woman. When he arrives, everything initially appears completely calm. There are no lights in the sky, no noise, no signs of a landing aircraft. At first glance, the report seems like a false alarm. However, Greenhaw decides to inspect the area more carefully and turns onto a narrow gravel road leading through a wooded area outside the town. He drives about 100 meters when the car's headlights illuminate a strange figure on the road. At first, Greenhaw assumes it is a person who might need help. The figure stands motionless in the middle of the road. But as the police car approaches within a few meters, he realizes this is no ordinary person. Later, he describes the being as a small humanoid figure dressed in a tight, fitting suit with a silvery metallic sheen. According to him, the entire body looked smooth and reflected light in a strange way. Greenhaw says that the creature's head and neck seemed to be one, without a clearly defined boundary between them. The surface of the suit appeared as if coated with mercury over metal, yet at the same time smooth like glass. When the headlights shone on it, the reflections shifted depending on the angle. The police chief stops the vehicle and opens the window. He addresses the strange figure and asks if it needs help. There is no response. The being remains motionless and makes no sound. At that moment, Greenhaw decides to take out his camera, which he keeps in the patrol car, and begins taking photographs. This proves to be the moment in the encounter. When the camera clicks, the strange figure suddenly turns and begins to run. But the way it moves is even more shocking. According to Greenhaw, the being accelerates at a speed impossible for a human. The police chief tries to follow it with his car. He presses the accelerator, and the patrol vehicle reaches a speed of about 55 kilometers per hour. But despite this, the creature manages to escape. Within seconds, it disappears into the darkness of the night. Greenhaw takes several photographs, which later becomes central to the mystery. After the incident, the photographs are examined by various specialists and organizations, including researchers from MUFON, one of the most well-known groups studying the UFO phenomenon. Analysis of the photographic negatives leads to interesting observations. Experts find no clear signs of manipulation or tampering. The images themselves show a blurred figure resembling a humanoid form. The most intriguing detail, however, is something else. Upon detailed examination of the negatives, strange objects appear that resemble flying bodies. They are not clearly visible in the photographs themselves, but are recorded on the film material. This leads some researchers to suggest that there was unknown aerial activity in the area. Skeptics, however, point out that such effects can also be caused by film defects or peculiarities of photographic technology of that time. After the story becomes public, it quickly spreads across the country. The media begin writing about the Metal Man of Falkville, and the case turns into a sensation. But for Greenhaw himself, the consequences are catastrophic. Many people begin accusing him of inventing the story to attract attention. Others consider him insane. In a small town, such a reputation can be devastating. The pressure on him becomes so intense that he is dismissed from his position as police chief. Soon after, his personal life also falls apart. His wife leaves him, and his home later burns down in a fire. In a short time, a man who had been a respected law enforcement officer for years finds himself completely isolated from society. Despite all this, Jeff Greenhaw never retracts his story. Until the end of his life, he insists that he saw something real, and that he had no reason to fabricate such a story. Today, the Metal Man of Falkville case remains one of the strangest incidents in the history of UFO sightings. There is no definitive proof that the encounter was with an extraterrestrial being, but there is also no convincing explanation of what exactly the police chief saw that night. Some researchers suggest that Greenhaw may have encountered an experimental military suit or a person in specialized protective gear. Others believe it was an unknown entity connected to the UFO phenomenon. One uncomfortable question remains. If it was all a hoax, why would a man risk his career, his family, and his reputation for a story that would turn him into an object of ridicule? The Falkville story shows how thin the line is between testimony and doubt. Sometimes a single experience can change a person's life forever, regardless of whether society is ready to accept it as truth.